Hello. One of the important topics that business and economic students take in the IGCSE is economies and diseconomies of scale. This is a very important topic, and they always get questions on it. They keep asking me questions about it, and they ask me to repeat it because they always forget. So I thought of making this recording just to make things easy for them. So could you please listen carefully? Like, what's meant by economies of scale? As a business grows in size and increases its scale of production, as it starts to produce more output, the average cost starts to fall. Average cost, or cost per unit. So if you get a question in the exam asking you about the definition of economies of scale, never ever write it's when total cost falls or when cost falls. You have to mention average cost or cost per unit. You have to specify. Okay? So what's economies of scale? As a business grows in size, as we said, and it produces more output, it starts to save or pay lower average cost or low cost per unit. What's happening to this business? What makes it save lots of money? Number one is what we call the managerial economies of scale. Managerial economies of scale means that as a business starts to produce more output, what happens? It can afford getting really good experts. It can afford hiring specialists. Each one does a task, so it enjoys the benefits of specialization. What does this mean? If your business is a small one, you will probably get one manager who does everything or a person who does everything. But as your business grows in size, you will start to implement or use division of labor. You will start to divide tasks among your workers and your managers. Each one will be doing a specific task, okay? And you took the benefits of specialization before. If each worker is specialized in doing a specific task, he will excel in his job, he will be more productive, he will save time, okay? He can produce faster because he keeps doing this task repetitively. He will make less mistakes and hence become more efficient. So you will enjoy managerial economies of scale. You will benefit because your workers, you're paying wages to your managers, and those managers will be more productive because they are specialized. If you divide the salaries that those managers take by the number of output you produce per month or per day or whatever, you will find that each unit costs you much less than before because now you produce more output than before. The second economies of scale is financial economies of scale. Large businesses are considered credit worthy. What does this mean? Banks don't usually like to lend small businesses because they believe that small businesses are more risky and vulnerable to any economic problems. Like if a problem takes place in the country, any economic issue, small businesses are more likely to face troubles and they may close down. But large businesses are more established in the market. They produce very large output. They have huge collaterals or assets that they can that can be considered as a good security. So banks are more willing to lend large businesses than small ones. And due to this, banks usually make large businesses pay lower interest rate possible. So this saves a lot of money for the business. When it goes and takes a loan from the bank, they return it back with a low interest rate compared to small ones, and this is why it saves money. The third economies of scale is marketing economies. Let's take a company like Pepsi, for example. Pepsi company produces a very large output. Pepsi company can afford paying for really good promotion. They can spend millions on a marketing campaign. If you divide those millions on the number of Pepsi cans sold, you will find that each can cost them nothing, almost nothing. So they can afford paying for really good promotion, make very high sales. If you divide the cost of this promotion or the cost of this marketing campaign on the number of units produced, you will find that each unit has cost them nothing or a very small amount. Then we have the purchasing or the bulk buying economies of scale. A large business has to buy its supplies and raw materials in large quantities. For suppliers, they're considered really good clients. And because a large business is a really good client, a supplier will probably give him really good discounts. Okay, so this will save a lot of money for the business as well. So a large business produces large output, it buys a lot of supplies and raw materials, so suppliers will give them really good discounts that will save a lot of money for them. Another economies of scale is technical economies of scale. A large business producing large output will afford getting really good machinery, high technology that can increase the output. These high-tech machines, they can produce very large quantities per day. So the cost of the machine, if you divide it by the number of output produced, you will find that each unit has cost the company much less than before. So getting this machine, it's better technology, it can produce very high output, and only large firms can afford getting such machinery. Small firms cannot. However, we said that if a business grows in size and produces more output, if it increases the scale of production, it will enjoy economies of scale, average cost will fall, and this is good. However, if this business exceeds a certain limit and grows even more and starts to produce more and more output, things can be out of control. The first problem that they might face is poor communication. Why? Large firms will probably have a very tall organizational chart. The organizational structure of the firm will be very tall. So this can lead to poor communication between workers. If the top level manager, for example, or the director of the company wants to send a message to those at the bottom, the message will have to pass through many layers of management in the middle. So in this case, this will lead to poor communication, slow process of communication, maybe bureaucracy, and very slow decision making. So poor communication will lead to problems, and as we know, poor communication can lead to inefficiency, mistakes, demotivation of workers. So this happens if the business grows a lot, grows in size and exceeds a certain limit. Demotivation of workers. If a business grows in size, workers will probably feel alienated. Maybe they become too specialized to the extent that they start to feel bored. They're not listened to, nobody listens to them. So they start to feel demotivated. They will not be as productive as before. They may not be loyal to your company. Very high labor turnover. So this could be a problem because now you're paying wages to workers who are not as productive as before. Another diseconomies of scale is poor control. A very large business is very hard to control. Some workers may go to work, but they may not do all the work they're supposed to. High absenteeism, lots of mistakes might take place, and again, this can be very costly for the business. And there's another point which is not mentioned here in the slides, is customer complaints. A very large business will probably find difficulty listening to the complaints of all their customers. So customers may not feel satisfied and they can switch to competitors just because you don't listen to them anymore. And this is, by the way, one of the advantages of small businesses. They provide personal service to the customers. They listen to them whenever they have issues, but a large business cannot always do that unless you're capable of controlling this and having or using very good means of communication with the customers. So poor control over the business, customer dissatisfaction, demotivation of workers, poor communication are all problems that might happen to a company if it grows in size and exceeds a certain limit. Thank you so much. Hope this video was helpful. And by the way, what I explained now is only internal economies and internal diseconomies of scale. Okay, which means that average cost starts to fall because the scale of production starts to increase, and diseconomies of scale is when average cost starts to rise again, which is not good. If you have any questions, message me please. Bye.